Hi there. Today's stats are absolutely phenomenal. You're going to have your mind blown away with some of the things that are happening. So whatever you do, don't go away. So it's really good to have you here with me once again. There's going to be a few changes happening for this presentation. Number one is I thought I'd use the look and feel that I used at NamesCon online. It seemed to really resonate with everyone. So I hope you don't mind those sort of changes. But let me tell you, there's been great things happening in the industry. And NamesCon online was just an amazing event as well. I loved it. If you were there, please hit me up for a Skype message or an email or something like that. I'd love to hear from you. If you weren't there, do the same. I must admit, I've been speaking to the conveners of the conference saying, hey, we need to run this more often. Like, it was such a great event. So I enjoyed myself. But anyway, I thought I'd just get started into looking at the stats because some really interesting things going on here. So let's take a look at that and see how we go. All right then, so monetization industry update. You notice now I'm calling it the date. It's not week 27, even though if it is, it's the 18th September 2020. So let's take a look at what's going on. Okay, so revenue growth trends. What's going on is you notice at the very right-hand end, just there, it's spiking up, which means we're heading back into an expansion phase. It's going to fall back in. Oh, I really don't know, but that's good news. So revenue change really went up, but if you remember last week, we were looking at a downward trend beginning to establish. That has been absolutely debunked. Okay, so normalized RPM and RPM trends. You'll notice that the RPM, which is the red graph, it's flattened out quite a bit, but the normalized RPM, after dropping down, is now kicked back into high gear. And you can see that in this area here, and that's why we're getting such an upsurge in normalized RPM. So we're going to look at that in a little bit more detail shortly. Okay, next one is the EPC and CTR charts. Once again, we're looking at the right-hand end here, and you can see the blue line there, which is CTR, and red line, which is EPCs. The CTR it's like they go in this forever dance, and if we look at the average, you can see that there was that step-up function back in July, and then they're just going that inverse relationship the whole way. Although we really did take a bit of a drop down in EPCs right here. I think it's going to swing around. I really do, particularly as we're heading towards Christmas. So we're going to keep an eye on that one as well. Okay, so volatility. What's happening with the volatility? And this is what I was talking about in one of the first charts. It's really pulled around. Remember, we're comparing this the current day versus the previous week at the same time. And you can see it swung around quite a bit, and we're in positive expansion territory. Anything in the blue area is an expansion versus a contraction. And to never forget, you can't be in expansion forever. So there will be times of contraction. But so let's take a look at what's going on. The normalized RPM from the base. So the base point is back here in January 1. If that is like, okay, we're doing everything comparing against January 1, what's actually happened. And you can see the journey we've been on with COVID and so forth. And it's been going up, 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 up. And remember last week, we thought, gee, are we establishing a downward trend or even a flattening off? And look at that last data point. It is swinging around. So it's something, I must admit, it's not just a slight rise. It's like someone leapt off the edge of up into the stratosphere of that one. So let's take a look at what's actually happening, who's causing that. But here's the revenue split. This is between Google and direct advertisers. So for this sample set of the portfolio that we're looking at here, you can see that Google's been winning more and more and more of the revenue. So they're paying for the traffic, which means they're wanting that particular traffic. And the direct advertisers have been shrinking back their portion. That's not really that surprising because when you think about it, the direct advertisers have really been struggling because a lot of their major market verticals like travel and so forth like that have just vanished. So is that going to swing around and come back? Let's just get rid of COVID and we'll wait and see. Okay, so, but the interesting thing that this chart shows, this is the percentage of traffic. The other one was percentage of revenue one, and this is percentage of traffic. And you can see, even though the direct advertisers aren't paying as much for the traffic, they're still winning more and more of the traffic compared to before, which I find fascinating. I think that the next chart, which is my favorite chart, really begins to show us some very, very interesting things. Okay, this is the Google versus direct advertisers normalized RPM. So we can begin to compare them. And if you take a look at this, the big jump, which we saw is at the right hand, and there's other charts, the volatility and so forth like that. That big jump is really been caused once again by Google. It's just like, I don't know what Google's doing, but it's all good for ParkLogic clients anyway, because they're getting exposed to a lot of this and everything. And the direct advertising has been flattened off. Now, remember they're using different axes. So let's put them both on the same axis. And this is why I intimated in the introduction of something phenomenal has happened. You can see Google, since COVID's come online, as more and more businesses come online, COVID started, more and more businesses came online, and they've really been trending upwards, and they accelerated since July. But look at just here. They've now crossed over direct advertisers. You think about that change. If you look at the trend lines, there is a massive gap between direct advertisers who are really just biting into that Google traffic over and over and over again, particularly certain market verticals, and they just fallen down, which has been a bit frightening, I'd say, if you're running one of those businesses, that's for sure. But Google's really pulled around here, and you can see that little tiny blue dot, it went over. And that's the amazing thing. I was blown away with that. Is it sustainable? And this is why you got to come back each week for these few minutes about domain monetization, because let me tell you, that's the key thing we look for. Is Google going to continue to accelerate how much they're paying, or are they going to go and sort of say, well, we've managed to kill the direct advertising networks. Now let's go and take more of the revenue to ourselves. So that'll be interesting. I'd say they're going to have a tough time doing that because antitrust and so forth, but you never know. So, okay, now this is just the last 14 days. And it's a straight line. It's a straight line chart, which is comparing the normalized RPM of Google versus direct advertisers. With Google blue, once again, direct advertisers are red. It's a linear trend line. So what we're really interested in this chart is the line going up or down? So basically, if you look at the direct advertisers, although they're slightly downwards, they're really flat. But Google is still accelerating upwards. And that's the thing to keep an eye on all the time, and of what's actually happening. Okay, so this is the volatility percentage change, and you can see Google is accelerating upwards. But the interesting thing here is this, is it looks like the direct advertisers are getting some nice data points as well. And out of this, in terms of them changing around. So maybe, just maybe, we're on that point where the direct advertising networks are going to start to fight back against against Google. And from my perspective, the more competition, the better. Okay, this is Google compared since January 1, and also direct advertising since January 1. And you can see what Google's done here is phenomenal. It's been like 800%, 700% uplift. And that just blows my mind away, that is the case from January 1. Well, the direct advertising has been quite stagnant. In fact, they contracted a bit. Yeah, so Google has really put the challenge out to the direct advertising networks, and which is phenomenal. So a couple of things I'd like to mention. Don't forget, if you're monetizing your traffic and you're thinking, gee, I want to get better results, go to parklogic.com. Reach out to me. Say you saw this video and the list of domains, say, saw a video on michaelgilmore.com or something, that's fine. And all, because the thing we really focus on all the time is big data, algorithmic switching, managed services. Like, there's nothing like having a real person you can talk to. Don't forget to if you're on just watching this on YouTube, go to michaelgilmore.com and you'll find that there's some great articles on there. And there's interviews with people, all that sort of stuff. And I've got coming up two fantastic interviews. One's with Freddie Schwick, and also the other one's with Richard Lau. Richard Lau, as you're probably aware, was the founder of NamesCon. And it's a great insight into what he's doing now and some of the interesting things he's moving on to. And don't forget also masterclasslessons.club. I must admit, I found like I was a broken record at NamesCon saying, hey, just go to mcl.club and it'll answer that question. And someone asked something else and I'd say, look, it's all in mcl.club, it's all there. So anytime I find that there is some different questions I didn't think about, I'm just adding another lesson to mcl.club on monetization. And like I said, I'm wanting to go and I'm wanting to actually go and add whole new streams of lessons, not just on monetization, maybe on sales, on development, all these sort of things from a domainer's perspective and an online entrepreneur's perspective. So I hope you enjoyed today's data, and make sure you like the video, subscribe if you're on YouTube or something like that. If you're not on YouTube, you subscribe to my blog, and I look forward to seeing you and getting those comments and things like that flowing. Thanks a lot for that. Bye. I hope you enjoyed that video and you find them really valuable for your business and helping you make better decisions. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or pass the video on to your friends. Anyway, thanks a lot for that. Have a great day. Bye.